Marlene Martin.
So, hello everybody. What an awesome, awesome panel that we had last night.
Yeah.
And really, it was incredible. And I don't know about you all, but delegates, I'd like to try to push that we decide to implement that every year. We do a Friday night event. And it also made me think that when you look at the rest of the convention, like some of the remarks that I prepared for today are kind of like the kickoff remarks that I usually do at the start of the convention, but really our convention kind of started last night with that. And a lot of what I'm going to say might be a bit repetitious. But I think we can think of that as we put together our convention program for next year. Maybe there will be more parts of the convention that can be more organizational, rather than what our message is, which I feel like we spend a lot of our time on over the weekend. What are we saying? Getting a handle on the political situation today, and maybe have a little bit more in there about how to. How do you do a press release? How do you reach out to the press? How do you go and visit death row or pen pal with a prisoner, and so on? I think maybe this particular program this year might be a little bit short on that, but I think we can look to the future to get that in there. So I just want to say, last year, for people who were at our convention, it was quite special. We had Howard Zinn. He was our keynote speaker. And Howard, as people know, was loved around the world and really well known. His book, A People's History of the United States, sold millions of copies. And when I wrote to him, it was like, you know, a long shot to see if he would be our keynote speaker. Because he's, you know, he was in ill health, and many people were asking him to come and speak. And he agreed to speak for us, and for all of us who were able to be there, it was really quite special. Little did we know that it was going to be one of the last speeches that Howard would ever make, and he passed away just a few months after that. And when he left, he wrote me a note to say this. It was an enormously moving experience, full of emotion and comradely love. It was not an ordinary political meeting, because it was suffused with passion, undoubtedly because we were in the presence of people who had suffered so much, but were now here free, triumphant, and part of the movement that helped them to freedom. You are all nurturing a profoundly important movement for human freedom. And I just want to underline that. You are all nurturing a profoundly important movement for human freedom. Because those words, I think, as we commemorate our 10 years of struggle, are really important. Howard Zinn saw something special in what we're trying to do, and we are trying to do something special, something important, and it's something that is worth fighting for. An end to the death penalty, pursuing justice and racial justice. And I say racial because race infects every aspect of our criminal justice system, and we can't ignore it. That is why racism is going to be, and already has been, discussed throughout this weekend. Now, some other abolitionists disagree. They think that you must leave racism aside. It's too uncomfortable to discuss, but we disagree. We have to put this at the center of our discussion. We have so many people here at this convention that are, you know, have been coming year after year, and it is like a family that comes together and fights. Carolyn, Sandra, so many others. And then there's new people that are here for the very first time. Alicia McWilliams, Alan Newton, Jazz Hayden, Natalie Skinner. And I'm so glad that all of you are here. We're eager to hear you speak, and we're eager to join in struggle alongside of you. And those that weren't able to make it to this convention, I mean, Martina was with us on the screen, but not to have her presence here. We're sad about that. We're also sad to be missing Daryl Myers and Janine Scott, who weren't able to come, but we do understand that they're here in spirit. Lawrence Foster, who's here with us at 87 years young. And, you know, I'm so glad that he's able to be with us. We fought alongside him, really, to free his grandson from Texas death row, and we won. Texas death row. And I'm so glad that he's here to feed his determination into our struggle, and to be a reminder that when all seems bleak, when it seems like we might not win, and we had our moments in 2007, I'll be honest, I mean, I was at home and I think somebody thought something horrible happened because I screamed and jumped up and down when I heard word that we had won that commutation. But it does show that if we keep it up, that we can win. That's what the Kenny Foster fight showed, Troy Davis fight shows that, Kevin Cooper and Mumia. That is what all those struggles show us. It's not guaranteed, but we know what we're guaranteed if we don't even try. Now, Kenny's case exposes the lie that the worst of the worst get the death penalty. Kenny was convicted under the law of parties, Texas's law of parties, which allows prosecutors to seek the death penalty even if you didn't harm the person who was killed, the murder victim. So Kenny never picked up a gun, never directed it, shoot it, never harmed this person. He was present during the crime, and supposedly he was supposed to know the intentions of someone else. So he was tried right along with that person and given the death penalty. It's crazy, but that's how our death penalty system works. It's not a sentence exclusively for the worst of the worst. A better description is that it is most exclusively reserved for those that are too poor to afford good representation at trial. Now, I read about a case of juveniles that committed a crime. They committed a home invasion in Florida. Two of these kids, they were young, two of the kids, one of them was 15, he died when they were breaking into the home. The owner woke up and he shot the 15-year-old who later died. He shot another kid who was 16, William Murphy. He was shot in the stomach, but he lived. But the 15-year-old died, and it was ruled a homicide. So, who was charged with that murder? Does anybody want to? Who is Mark? Is Mark here? He was not. Yeah.
His partner.
Where is he? Mark should be in here. Okay. I don't see him. I want him to answer that. So the person who is charged, who is being charged with that murder, is the kid who was shot in the stomach. He's being charged with that murder. He is being charged as an adult in Florida. He faces up to 50 years in prison. There's my pen pal, Adolfo Davis. He was 14 years old. He was a lookout person. He was charged as an adult and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, just like what Mark Clements was sentenced to, basically to die in prison. He's already been locked up for over 20 years in prison. Now contrast this to an incident in New York. Cops stormed the building, this is in 2003, on a tip that they didn't check, that was drug-related. They deploy a flashbang grenade, which results in a deafening explosion in the building. The only person in the apartment was a 57-year-old city worker from Harlem. She died 2 hours later of cardiac arrest. It was ruled a homicide. So, was anybody charged in that crime? No. You're right, you said no.